Do you remember the games that we hated for removing features or making them in a way so that only the premium players have access to it? Or even worse, doing something that affects you negatively while maintaining the same face. The list of the games that have done this to their audience is limitless. But the question is, are we standing in front of them or are we forgetting it? In the recent years, the gaming industry have been tough times. Is it finally the time to take back what was once ours? This is the story of the shady side of Marvel Rivals. Over the past few weeks, I've monitored the way Marvel Rivals works. It's a free-to-play game which is basically just Overwatch that is better. But I'm not gonna go into that. Marvel Rivals is made by a company called NetEase Games. This company does not have the best track of supporting their own games, and they were allegedly accused for money laundering and several other things. So here's the question. What if the developer team abandons the game like they have in the past? NetEase Games is known for abandoning their games without trying, without advertising their games, and just doing a money grab on the games that people would love to continue supporting, but they just do like a hit and run. Even the games that they spent a lot of time and money on, they will at the first fail abandon them and leave their audience in the dust. This has led to many of their fans converting to the other markets and not trusting them with their money. How does this relate to Marvel Rivals, you ask? Well, as you can see, Marvel Rivals is a free-to-play game, so it doesn't bring a revenue when the player installs it. In fact, when you install Marvel Rivals, the developer actually loses money because they have to pay for the servers and all of that. But what they do to make money is shove every skin they can in your throat, do anything they can to generate revenue and make money. That is why Overwatch 1 was paid. That is why a lot of games in the past were paid. But now with the subscriptions and battle passes and the skins, they are quote-unquote free to play. Even if the game has a big audience, but the audience doesn't really spend money on the game, they have to shut down servers to at least minimize their damages. The revenue is what convinces shareholders to continue supporting and funding the game. But there is a big factor: company greed. In the last few years, companies have had tendencies to increase their greed factor. Basically, they have become more greedy than usual. Although I do understand that they need to generate revenue, I also think they have gotten too greedy with their way of generating revenue. Their ways of generating revenue has gotten so aggressive that many think that is just basically gambling but made for all ages and more accessible. But that's nothing new. We've been used to this. We have used this kind of loot boxes and microtransactions a lot in our games. What's different with Marvel Rivals? This brings me to my second point: removal of features. The first season of Marvel Rivals was just released, and with that came the removal of supporting mods for the game. This means that everything up to this point which have modders made are completely useless and will not be usable, at least officially, in the game. Some might say this mod support was an unintended feature and it was waiting to be removed, but you cannot make this argument, as Marvel Rivals has let this mod support be active in the game for almost 2 months. And in my opinion, this is just another case of removing features from already published games. But that's not all of the problems with Marvel Rivals. Marvel Rivals also has allegedly been accused of censorship, and not even for a good reason. Marvel Rivals has showed the tendency to censor stuff about freedom of specific areas in the world, such as Palestine and Taiwan. Although the game is not something that you would think is connected to politics, but it is. The fact of the matter is, NetEase Games is a Chinese company, and as a Chinese company, they are obliged to follow the same rules all companies will have in China. Although it is the liability of the publisher to deal with this kind of stuff, we as a community should also push back on the things we do not like, such as removal of features that were there in launch, gambling, and other forms of censorship, or anything in general that we do not agree to. Like collection of data and not noticing customers when the data they have collected is leaked to the public. Big companies have showed us how our actual opinion doesn't matter as long as they are making money. So, as a part of this community, I advise all of you to please push back on the shady things and the practices that the companies are doing to generate more revenue, to make more money, to be more greedy. If all of us as a community come together and push back on the things that companies do for one reason or another and completely ignore us, maybe, just maybe, we can make a greater community for all of the ages that is clean from greed and most other things, and bring back the good times where anyone could enjoy the games without the hassle of chasing the company to see what shady practices they are doing.